I watch a new film every other day. Follow along for recommendations and reviews. Today, I just finished watching the series titled Scratch that is streaming on Capital Dreams Pictures on YouTube. It is the Clarence Peters directed series. And the first thing that I want to tell you is that this show is not to be watched with your parents or with your siblings. Don't watch it with your family or with your children. It's a very adult show. The show starts off with loud moaning, so if you're watching on your family parlor anywhere, just start to reduce that volume. Episode one and also episode four, and even also episode three. It's a very adult show. It deals with a lot of topics, but very adult themed topics. It talks about like black tax, but also talks about like heavier topics like abuse, sexual violence. It's very sex leaning, which I did not expect. I didn't know it was going to be as sex leaning in the professions, in the trauma, in the like so much of it is so sex leaning that I did not expect. But it also touches on some very heavy material. It's Clarence Peters that directed this, so you know that it's going to look good. Like visually, it looks amazing. There's fight choreography here. One particular episode that I really, really enjoyed. The color grading of it, it's like it's Clarence, and so it just looks visually very interesting. For those of us that watch a lot of things on YouTube, I would say this is a very different like palette. Like it's something you can test out and watch episode one and just see, do you like it, do you not? Like it's something different, and you should check it out for that reason. If this thing was released on Netflix or Prime Video or Cover, you would understand why. It's very well done. Also, the cast here is like almost entirely like new faces, so I'm going to shout each and every one of them out. Favour Etim played Feifei, Hawa Issa played Oyiza, Celia Okechukwu played Runo, Mofehintola Jebutu played Onaka, and Tony Sumala, we seem like only once in the show, but he played Dubem, and all of them did a fantastic job. Like they knocked it out of the park. Bolaji Ogunmola is also in this, and Scarlet Gomez is also in this. Bolaji's episode, I was like, I've not seen Bolaji play a character like this because in the world of this show, it's very like her character, the thing she's saying, the character she's playing, I was like, oh, this is dark material, but there's a message to it. Even though again, I would say that it's kind of freaked out. Again, I just maybe didn't. My only thing I would say is that maybe I just personally didn't expect it was going to be so sex leaning. I thought that when I hear, five young people living in one house, we're going to see different types of struggles. But I didn't know it was going to be like how how sugar is about like, sexual things like that. This one seems like it's about sexual trauma, especially like that's the major focus. So just know it's going into that. It's very, very adult, very, very mature, but it talks on some good themes. And I think just check it out. Check out that episode. And then if you like it, keep watching. If you don't, you can leave. It's on YouTube. Just check it out. Now, for those of us who have watched, if we're going to talk about this film with spoilers, then spoilers ahead in three, two, one. Let us go. All right, now we're in the spoiler section. Please, if you're going to write a comment that has spoilers, just write spoiler alert before you write your comment so that we don't spoil it for people that have not yet watched it. All right, let's start this thing. We're going to take it episode by episode, starting with the character of Feifei. When we first see that Feifei is a calm girl, there's so much that you can already start to like assume about her. And I think that the biggest lesson that this episode tells us is about not judging, not stereotyping. Because we now learn that Feifei is doing this camp, first of all, to send money back home for her sister's school fees. And this girl is also a virgin. So the things that you might not even just assume just based on seeing her on screen. Then you now see the sister that she's even doing this for, like the topper that is supposed to be a Christian. And we now see how like vitriolic Topper's words are, how like poisonous, evil, like the way she's just cursing. Like you're like, this one is Christian, this one's not Christian. But that is just again the way you can see on paper that oh, this one are the calm girl and this one are the Christian. But in their persona, in the things that they say, very different. It also, of course, touches on black tax and why you shouldn't like sacrifice your whole life for somebody else. Like you also have to prioritize your own self in some ways because sometimes the family you're even prioritizing for might not even prioritize you. So that's another lesson to be learned from her episode. Then we go on to episode two, which is Oiza, and her storyline was very sad. I would say that they did a fantastic job of showing grief and just like they did it so well. Like, when she's even in her car and she's getting robbed and she's just so numb in the mind that she doesn't even really recognize it. Like, just again in the shower, like the way they really showed grief here was very powerful. And her story too was so sad that, she was a victim of sexual violence by her father, who may or may not be her biological father. But one thing that I wish that we understood or that was clearer was that how the story goes, right, is that she had this child for her father, like she was pregnant with her father's child. A couple now came, and the woman in that couple acted like she was pregnant. And then when the baby actually came, she took that baby as her own, Louisa's baby as her own. Eventually, that baby dies because it starts bleeding from the eyes, from the nose, from everywhere. And what the woman is saying is that the baby died because it was a child of incest. So my question, and I wish we knew was this like a supernatural death that the child then died of? Was this something that, because when you say he died because of incest, I'm like, how? Like biologically how? So was this spiritual, supernatural? And I wish there was more explanation on that. The third episode with Runo, who, we see she's a Christian girl, but because her mother is dying and she's trying to raise money for her, she has to now also do other things like dominatrix work sometimes when she's flogging a guy at the beginning, or because she's actually a masseuse, but sometimes it's now like this client that, that her drug addict friend is bringing to her, Angela. Sometimes they want more. And so she now enters into a situation too where she goes into this masseuse session and the guy is trying to grab her bum. She doesn't want it anymore. And then the guy takes it forcefully from her. It's very sad, it's very harrowing, and it just sometimes again shows that like the risk that comes with doing this type of work, and the unfortunate reality that sometimes women in this situation can face. Sometimes you might think, oh, this is my last job I'm going to do, and then I'll be out, and then something bad like this can happen. It was very sad to see Rune in that situation. And also, drug addicts, very hard company to keep, because sometimes they're even putting you in these dangerous situations for their own selfish benefits, and that is what Runo becomes a victim of. And that fight scene, the two of them, was very good, so I really enjoyed that. The fourth episode is, on Aka, and we now get the very shocking revelation when Bolaji Ogunmola comes that he has been knacking his sister for the last 15 years. Now, it seems like it's also his stepsister, but that's his sister regardless, and that is like whoa. But prior to that moment, I was like, wait, what is happening in this episode? Because you're seeing Fefe and Onaka trying to talk about ways to convince a woman to have an abortion, and I was like, wait, this is a very But then at the end of the day, we now finally see Bruno talk some sense into him and talk about how selfish that is, and like the real consequences of like an abortion and how heavy that is on women. So I like that that was also touched on. And then also we see my question to after episode 4, because I had a question, was the way that he eventually switches on Bolaji's character. I wish that there was more to it, because this is a girl that's had a clutch over his life for all these years. He really, he stays up at night because of her. So when, he just says, I have a baby on the way, or she's pregnant, and then she's like, oh, I've done many abortions. And then that's the thing that now like forces him into like, oh, no, I'm not going to have your. I was like, wait, what prompted this change? I wish that we actually saw something more that would lead to that sudden change of him finally getting his freedom from her, because it didn't seem like he was even that gongo about being a father. So the threat of losing his child in that way didn't seem like it would be the, oh my god, I cannot let this happen, I have to break free. So why was that the moment that now sparked the change in him? I just wonder about that particular thing. Finally, the fifth episode is now like a murder mystery, and I was like, okay. Honestly, the fifth episode with Dubem is just like it's a murder mystery, and I was like, okay. And then when it finally ends, can I be very honest? I was like, it kind of sets it up like, oh, we are now going to see like, where you guys run into and we're supposed to be invested. I personally wasn't, because I was like, I've already gone through the journey of these people's personal lives. I already have all the answers I wanted in terms of like their personal wounds and stuff have already been resolved. We've seen their story arc. Right now, what is really bringing me to a season 2? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what about, okay, now, Dubim is not like where you guys run into like, okay, but like, and what then? Like, why would I come for a season 2? The cliffhanger at the end wasn't really cliffhanging for me. I didn't really feel any like, oh, I will be back for season 2 to come and see what happens. But were you? I'm very curious to know what you thought about that ending, and also what you thought about the show as a whole. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you've watched this whole video and you have no idea who I am, my name is VDK. I'm the curator of the VDK Film Club, where every other day we watch something new and we just about it like we've done today. Follow along. All right. Until the next film that I watch and the next video that I make, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.